Hey, what's up, guys? This is Rhyno Tabamo. I'm a tattoo artist, and if you want to pursue your passions, then you should be following and listening to People's Coach podcast with my good friend Angelo Lilac.
Maybe you're thinking, it's too late for change. You're already established and life is good, but it's definitely not great. Welcome to The People's Coach, your guide to living with more purpose and fulfillment. This is how life optimization should be. Brought to you by our host, Angelo Lilac.
I'm the story you don't speak of. I'm the one they call the underdog.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The People's Coach. I'm Angelo. I'm your host. And before we get things started, make sure that you're following us on iTunes. If you haven't already, please leave us a rating and review and help us grow this movement. If you wanted more information, you can visit me at angelolilac.com. Welcome to the show. He is one of Chicago's finest tattoo artists. Him and I go back all the way through high school, so I've seen him do his very first doodle. And then if you look at his Instagram today, he's been able to tattoo some awesome people. You look at his designs, and he's evolved from that doodling high schooler I knew to a man who is so wise. And I'm excited to bring him on here. Without further ado, Rhyno, what is going on, brother?
Hey, wow, what an introduction, man. Thank you so
Yeah?
much.
You like that?
Yeah, I'm not famous, though. Don't give me too much credit here. I'm just
Oh,
somewhat known in a niche, market, but I'm just a regular guy.
you he's playing that humble card, everyone. But anyways, why don't you go ahead and tell people a little bit about you? I talked a little bit about how we knew each other from high school, but go ahead and tell people a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, just to make it brief, I came from a Filipino American family, and kind of pressured into being a nurse from like birth,
Yeah.
But I've always kept my hobbies as it all started with playing drums, playing in a band. I play guitar. I was just wild and got inspired by WWE and
Yes.
you know what I mean, like just the wild
Hell
stuff,
yeah.
like Jeff Hardy. I like Jackass too. So I was just a wild child. So I got into free running, gymnastics. My interest was just across the board with the art. So it was always instilled in my head that it was just supposed to be a hobby, and there's no way to kind of have it as a career. So I felt a little bit lost in college, and then eventually I've figured that I could keep my career as a creative just by keeping the hobbies, and then it kind of led me to meet other people and create a network, create a support, create the skills to kind of make a path into becoming who I am today.
Dude, that's so I love that you mentioned that, because I know we talked about this a while back, but when I first met you, you were a wild child. I remember seeing you for the first time. I was like, this guy's cool, but I think he's a little bit crazy. I think I was like, bro, what the hell's going on with this guy? When I first met you, you were known for climbing up. For all the local Chicago people here, everyone knows Old Orchard is like that outdoor mall out in Skokie. And Rhyno was known to scale, like literally climb the outdoor parking lot. And
Parking garage.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, the parking garage. I was like, what the heck? So like you were like since you were young, you were already like this thrill seeker, right? And you mentioned that, and I know how big that is in the Filipino community. We want the parents want the best for us. They want us to be nurses or some kind of, career that makes a lot of money, right? I get it. How did that make you feel though, when you were kind of conflicting between becoming a creative versus pleasing our parents, which is what we're mostly taught, is to take care of your parents, listen to your parents, don't be a bad boy, go to school, make good friends, right?
Right. How did it make me feel?
Yeah, how did you deal with that?
like, of course it's a very disappointing, but as a kid and you get told to do this kind of stuff, it's almost like law, if
Mm,
an adult says this.
yeah.
So I almost felt like for a long time, being a creative always had somewhat of a timeline, or it's something that you just have to keep in the, on the side while you have this career,
Mm,
when you're an adult. So, um, yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I was a wild child from, like, the grade school days, because I felt like I just had to accomplish it all while I was young, just have as much fun, because when you become an adult, you kind of lose that uh,
mm,
chance. As a child, this
yeah.
is a perspective. You know what I'm saying? So,
I
um,
love that. I
yeah.
love that. And so then I know a little bit more of your story, but I don't want to. I don't want to skip too far ahead. But I know you had a little bit, you went a little bit into your healthcare career and you're doing some of the arts on the side. Tell people a little bit of how you managed to balance that in your life.
I'd say it's hard to even say balance, because when you have it on the
Mm,
side, it becomes very imbalanced, where you do sacrifice a lot of sleep. You sacrifice it comes with a price. So I
hmm.
would go to college. I would go to my classes, and I did take my CNA certificate at one point. I worked at a health facility. I applied as a CNA and ended up as an activity aide. So, um,
Mm.
and I did a good job doing that. Um, I had them do a bunch of activities. We had them draw a lot. I was known as being the artist over there too, and I was
Yeah.
known to be a breakdancer also. And sometimes I would like entertain them with that,
Yeah. You,
because it
you
was.
didn't have them doing flares or anything, right?
Yeah, it was one of their morning routines for exercise. No, but it was a facility specialized, like there's separate buildings, and the building I was at was specifically for the people with dementia and Alzheimer's. And
Mm,
although I felt like I was good at what I did, it was emotionally draining,
mm,
especially as a creative. Not to say, like, I don't. It just felt like something was missing. I didn't want to do the medical field because I don't know. Maybe I wasn't feeling like it was. I didn't resonate with it,
mm.
because when I came home from my 9 to 5 or my part time like hours or whatever, I would come home and I'm just like lethargic. But
Mm.
the minute that I got a phone call or a text, or it's part of my agenda where there's practice, breakdancing practice after work, oh man, like the life just came back to me, and I'm just as wired as if I drink like a few espressos. I would just go
Wow.
go to practice after working a shift, after going to my classes in the morning or whatever. I would just go to practice and I'd give it my all. And it didn't matter how tired I was. Like I didn't even, it felt like a different day when I went to class and work, because by the time I'm over there, it's almost like a different life. And then I would
Mm.
come home and then I would start painting again, and I would sleep at like 3 in the morning or something like that, and
Wow.
wake up the next day to kind of repeat that process. So, um, when you lose track of time, it almost feels like that's what you should be doing for the rest of your life, and that's when it kind of like gave me the kind of revelation where I'm like, I can't. This is what I have to do. I have to do something for me to give my energy and feel fulfilled doing what I do, because that's I felt so alive, and that's
Yeah.
that's how I felt like I should have carried my life's work, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you want to feel that every day type of feeling, right? Not just like when I'm doing this for 2 or 3 hours a day. Like I want my whole life to be around enjoying every single day. And
Yeah.
I love that. And in a moment, I want to go deeper into that. But just to kind of piggyback what you're saying, I think it's so. I admire you for having that ability to recognize and have that high level of self awareness to recognize like I'm doing this job or I'm going to school to, be a good son, to follow through with my parents' sacrifices and stuff. But at the same time, you had that understanding that there's something deeper, there's something bigger that you want to be a part of or you want to pursue. So, dude, I love where this conversation is going because it just leads exactly into what you're doing now. And from our conversation a few weeks back, what with the whole see me for who I am, not what I do, was like a whole nother level of like growth and understanding, which we're going to touch on in a little bit. But walk me through that moment when you realized I got to chase my passions. Like I have to, like, this nursing is just not for me.
Yeah. I remember being at one practice, and of course I would come in and I would tell them, oh, I'm feeling tired. I would still practice and I'd give it my all. But, it's always a conversation where I'm like, when you see people, they're like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm feeling lethargic. Lethargic was like my word,
Yeah.
And meaning like you just lack the energy, you feel kind of drained. And, that was a conversation. And then, the place we would practice at the time was this, it was like an art center, they were always given free books. Like there's a section with free books. There's a coffee place. It's like your recreational, like, art center. And I thought that was like inspiring itself. And I felt like, wow, like we're, this was held, these practices were held by my crew phase 2. And this almost like cultivated creativity. That was like almost the slogan of the facility we practiced at. And they would host events, they would host workshops and seminars, practices. And that whole like lifestyle, that whole like just lifestyle. That's why I was like, there's a facility that kind of cultivates that. And that should mean I should be able to kind of pursue that on another level, It doesn't have to always be medical. It doesn't have to be this or that. Like if you have like a gift or something that you're passionate about, you could kind of create this place. You could create a service. You could create something to give to other people. Did you hear me? The Siri just pops up randomly. So
you're good. No, you're good, man. I love the flow that we're in. So Siri, dude, she's not gonna bother this, man. She can't stop this.
She just wants to partake in the situation.
She's like, well,
I remember
can I add to that story, please? So, man, that's so. I'm imagining what that's like. And remind me, and how old were you when this was going on?
I'd say maybe 19 or 20, because I started my apprenticeship at 21.
And that's at the tattoo shop, right?
This is at the tattoo shop, yeah. And then around that period, I think it was a fork in the road where I was in community college, and I think I had the opportunity I got accepted to School of the Art Institute of Chicago for a bachelor's in art education, because I thought that was kind of I don't know, what do you say, like a more legitimized like career, being a teacher or a fine, I don't know. And then it was a fork in the road between that, because you get a paper for diploma and stuff like that. So I thought that's legitimized. And then I had the opportunity to become a tattoo apprentice. It was like a very, I can't say random, because the dots kind of aligned for that event to be set up. Yeah. So it's not necessarily random, but it happened at that moment when I was accepted to this. And I was in the middle of class for community college. And it was, gen eds. And that's when I kind of I got the text, and then it said, we're looking for apprentices, this and that. And then I did not show up this was mid-semester, and then I just did not show up to the rest of the semester to start my apprenticeship.
Really?
I dropped everything.
So okay, so let me just get this clear and paint this picture for people at home. You're in the middle of class, in the middle of a semester in your gen ed course, class, whatever. You get this text basically opening up the apprenticeship to you. And you basically just go, F it. I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to show up to the rest of the semester, and I'm just going to do this. Just like that.
Right. So when my parents thought I was going to, for the rest of that semester, they thought I was going to class, but I was actually going to my apprenticeship. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. I like that. Okay. So you're just coming home every day with a new tattoo, and they're like, what are they teaching you in school?
Oh, man. Well, I wasn't getting tattooed necessarily. And
yeah.
I was just learning, but yeah, that's how it happened.
And so how long did that go for? How long did you live that, I guess, lifestyle?
I was an apprentice for 2 years, and this tattoo shop was open from, well, I had to be there at 11 a.m. and close at 2 p.m. No, it opened at 11. I had to be there at 10 a.m. and then it was open until 2 a.m. So if I would work 2 shifts, there's 2 shifts. There's day shift, night shift. If I were to work the day shift and night shift, I would be there from 11 to 2 in the morning and then kind of repeat that process.
How long so you did that for 2 years, 11 to 2 in the morning?
Yeah, but not
for the most part.
Not every single day, of course.
Right.
Some days, and for the first year of my apprenticeship, I still worked my part-time job, and at this point I was working a mall job. So I'd have a routine of going to work at the mall, and then I would get off, go straight to the apprenticeship, and in order for me to work that night shift, I'd work in the day for the mall job, go to the apprenticeship, and then finish up at 2 in the morning. But that's only when they closed. The shop closed at 2 in the morning, so I had to clean up after it closed.
Wow.
Sometimes people would continue tattooing, and the rule is the apprentice has to be there as long as the tattooer is tattooing. So there were days where I'd get out at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. 5 was probably like the latest or earliest, however you want to
look at it.
And then come back to work. So there were days of that. That was and then after my first year, I quit my part-time job just to do my apprenticeship the whole way through.
So, I mean, you're putting in freaking 16, 18-hour days, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't think I counted my hours. Yeah, but I guess
I'm just guesstimating right now, right? But it sounds like you're putting the whole, most of your time was dedicated to this craft, mastering this craft. And if I can ask, why tattooing?
I guess at the time that was the closest thing I knew and had my foot in the door to become an artist and make a living making money, So, but also it turned out to be that route because, I mean, this is kind of a complicated story, but this is kind of a seed I planted in the past. So when I wanted to pursue art, I would kind of, open up a bunch of doors, a bunch of, I guess a thread of opportunities. And one of them was, he's the one that taught me how to tattoo. His name is Angel. He used to be married to my cousin. Now, at the time when I asked him, I don't think my cousins or him rather didn't want me to be an apprentice because it's kind of tough seeing a relative kind of go through that because an apprenticeship is at least over there. It's not butterflies or it's tough.
It's hard work.
It's really tough. It's almost it's tough. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
You're just at the low end of the totem pole, and it's kind of tough to put a relative through that. So they ended up separating at some point, and so that message that I got during my class, this is by the time they're separated and he's back and he's working. Actually, it wasn't a text, but he commented on one of my posts on Instagram. Now, this post on Instagram, this is when I was at the library and I picked up a bunch of different books because, again, I'm trying to open up these doors. I'm trying to create this thread of opportunity. One of the books was a tattooing book. Another one was like textiles. Another one was like comic book. Another one, it's just, art. Like, what can I do to be a legitimized working artist? And he saw the tattoo book. He commented, "Hey, when you see our shop is now accepting apprentices, come in with your art portfolio and delete this comment when you see it. And, ask for this person and call this number, etc." So I deleted the whole post, and again, this is a fork in the road when I actually had a portfolio to go to an art school. So I came in with that, and that portfolio looked similar to the doodles that you remember me kind of making during the high school days. It's a mix of that, a little bit of abstract, a little bit of, I don't know, but it just didn't look like tattoo art at all. And I came in with that because I just had to go like that. That was my thing right there. That was like, hey, you got to be here. Come in with what you got. And that's what I had. I didn't know anything about tattooing. And I remember at the time when I showed it, the bosses kind of looked at it, sifted through, and man, like if I was there today, like me, to look at my past self's portfolio, I was like, nah, not this. No, I don't know about this guy doesn't know anything. It looked nothing like tattoos. It didn't look, some of it was like school. So I would like doodle in the middle of class on notebooks. So you would see some ripped out, like, sketches from like college with like coffee stains on it, whatever.
That's funny. But you had to do what you got to do. Right?
Exactly.
Like you in your mind, maybe you didn't have like that clear textbook definition of what a portfolio was supposed to be. But at one point or another, we all start with some kind of ripped out pages of our portfolio. Our resume is blank as hell. Like when I first became a cop, I looked at my own resume and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't even hire me. No, man. Like this guy, no degree, no, not a whole lot of life experience. But again, that was what I had. That's what I had to work with. And at one point, you got to take that shot and take that shot on yourself. Go all in on you and just F it. Let's go forward. This is what we got.
You know what? I think in a lot of cases you should enter in a clean slate and a little bit of ignorance, because that's how you kind of shape someone without like them having to create that, coming in with bad habits from what they thought that field was supposed to be. You kind of go in with like with just like open arms and just learning everything as is. You kind of go in and you learn it from actual people rather than your own ego kind of understanding it.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, I love that, man. I don't think I've ever heard anyone phrase it like that. Like, come in with a clear slate or a clean slate and a little bit of ignorance.
Yeah.
That's, I like that.
There's no way. I feel like you create ego by entering like let's say a tattoo shop. And what if I came in and like, oh, I know everything about tattoos, or, oh yeah, I read this and that. Like, you kind of come in, and in some cases you might come off as a threat for some people because like, oh, this know-it-all, or, oh man, I don't, this guy's like just trying to, he thinks he knows everything. And like, you just got to kind of come in and you got to have humility. There has to be some sort of humility for you to be like, I don't know this. I want to learn. Let me learn this. Oh, what's that? You have to ask the questions rather than say and assume that you have the answers, kind of thing. I went in just as like so green. I went in so green. I was I barely had tattoos. I didn't even look like I should have worked there.
Yeah.
I had like 2 tattoos, but none of them like were really showing. And I was very eager to get covered up. But my mentor was like, just wait. Like, don't Don't get covered. I know you want to look like a tattooer, but just wait. You know, get my approval before you get any tattoos. You know, and that changed everything. There's a lot of patience involved with, rather than trying to jump the gun and become a tattooer overnight. It took 2 years of my apprenticeship and even a lot of learning afterwards. I'm still learning today. So I still come into work with a little bit of humility because I still don't know. I think it takes like 3 lifetimes to really understand Japanese tattooing. And it's like history, it's culture, you know?
Wow. Oh my god. Dude, there's so many different ways we can take this right now because there's all these ideas and questions in my head. One thing I'm so impressed by you is, and I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, is your commitment to your craft. You're mastering your craft. It's one of the things that it's a sign of greatness, right? Greatness is not just one, it is not just something we can do, is not just one person that can do a whole bunch of different things. It's one person that's mastered to do that one thing really, really well. You know, that quote that comes from Bruce Lee, and I think I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, if you're the man who's not, oh, damn it, I'm fucking this one up. It's not about the man who's done 1,000 different punches. It's the man that's practiced one punch or one cake, whatever, 1,000 times.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's like an over like simplification of what it is. But that's the mindset of mastery is not multitasking. It's how well can you commit to one thing, and just be so damn good at your art and your craft. Right. One thing that you had said was about this Japanese art and how you study it and how you just immersed yourself in it. What has that done for your career as a tattoo artist, by immersing yourself in your craft like so deeply? Because there's some really interesting things that people can learn from this focus, this laser focus.
So specializing in Japanese tattooing, I mean, already itself, like the word Japanese tattooing, like I'm not Japanese, and I struggle with a little bit of imposter syndrome just specializing in this as well. But I want to do it just as well, like just as good, you know, like just for what I am, I want to do the best I can. And, you know, it's more than just the artwork. It's more than just tattooing. I think it has a lot to do with its culture, a lot to do with, you know, its tradition. A lot of people think the word traditional tattoos is a style, but it's not. It's the word tradition. The word, people forget tradition. That's what it is. It's not a style. It's tradition. So in understanding that, I try my best to throw my ego aside and forget and not even put my style into this work. And I think a lot of people struggle in Japanese tattooing because of that, because everyone wants to have their style, especially in America. Everyone's trying to make their fingerprint into society. Everyone's trying to stand out. Everyone's trying to be, you know, the person. Everyone's trying to be famous, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But I had to throw, so again, I had abstract style. I thought I wanted to have my style, but I threw all that away. And, you know, if you ever see any of my artwork, it's not something I came up with. It's something that has always been a part of Japanese tattooing. I didn't invent koi fish tattoos. I didn't invent a Hania mask. I didn't invent these, you know, warriors. I didn't invent any of that. It's just something that's been a part of the folklore. It's something that's been a part of their culture. And I have nothing to do with that. I'm just kind of trying to carry on that tradition. But here's another quote that I just love. It's, we're all just pygmy standing on the shoulders of giants, and we just think we're standing so tall. So we're all just small people just standing on the shoulders of giants. We're so small, and I'm just kind of piggybacking off of the masters of art of Japanese tattooing, and I'm kind of just looking at what they did and carrying that, and those are the shoulders of giants. There's people that already created this style, and I have nothing to do with it. I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants.
Oh my goodness, I love that quote, man. I that totally plays into why I believe you've been successful in your craft. A lot of people nowadays, especially in the personal development space, they'll like say a quote where it's just something they've read in a book and they just like reworded it to make it sound like they said it for the very first time. And it's what I love about what you're saying is you're paying homage to the OGs. You're paying homage to the culture, the art of where it came from. You're not over here saying like I created all this, where the reality is even my content, right? The stuff that I put out, like people are like, oh, it's very original, or they may think I'm the first one who said it. Maybe it's because it's the first time they heard it, but I'm just a, combination of all the things I've learned in the past. And all those things from the past is from one person or another or another or another. And then it combines into who I am today, who we are today. What I love about you is you're actually out there saying like, yeah, this is from the past. This is from the first quote that you initially had started, like that kind of being in the middle. I love that because everyone's always trying to lead from the front, but realistically, they don't even know what the hell happened in the past. They haven't put in the time to master the craft and know what the origins of this art or this craft is. They just jump right in, think they can, stand and bang with the big boys, but no. I think that is a huge reflection on your character and your wisdom. Dude, I love that about you, man, because it's one of the reasons why I believe you are finding so much success in your craft. So let me ask you this. There's so many other questions, but let me ask you this. What has this taught you outside of tattooing, outside of art? What has this taught you about your life and how you create what we called balance? Because I loved your perspective on this, and I want you to kind of touch on basically the quote that we were talking about, like, see me for who I am, not what I do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a really good question. I mean, I think just going through life itself already teaches you about life, and
yeah, right.
But the balance thing. I guess it's a large part of the beginning of my career was me just trying to be a great tattooer, and I feel like again, there's like when you pursue that, there's something's gonna give, something's gotta give, and there's a little bit of sacrifice that goes along with that as well.
Right.
And
right.
That could come from spending time with your family or your girlfriend, or sleep or something like that. A lot of things sacrifice because of your pursuit for something, for your passion or whatever. So I mean, if there's anything that I've learned, I'd say it's to be mindful of the other things around you. I feel like when you start becoming so laser pointed, so like tunnel vision towards this one thing, you just kind of you see in a tunnel, and then you just forget everything around you. You just got to kind of be a little bit aware of that. I think, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it totally does, man. It's actually something that resonates. My clients that listen to these podcasts, it's something that I've taught them. It's like this ebb and flow, right? It's I did a podcast on it like a few months back. Plan for the long term, but operate in the short term, because it's this idea of having structure, having a plan, and kind of having that long term played out, but having the adaptability and being moldable and adaptable to what's happening now. It's this ebb and flow. It's not always focused. It's not always big thinking. Because if you're only focused every single time, you got your head down, you're laying down the bricks, you're kind of missing all the details up here. But if you're only looking up here and you're not looking down on the details, you're laying a crooked ass road.
Right.
So it's this idea of long-term planning, short-term operating. So you got to look down, focus on your work, but also look up and make sure you're still headed in the right direction.
I love that. Yeah, just kind of have a little bit of clarity after like just staring at one thing. Just look around you and kind of be like, oh, like just be aware of your surroundings.
100%.
And to add on to this topic, when you are focusing on your skill in your career or whatever, you are building your skill upon that, but you are neglecting a skill in elsewhere, a skill to be sociable, a skill to create a good home life, a skill to do this and that. There's it's not always about the skill in your work. There's skill like everywhere else, and you definitely got to work on that as well. So I guess that's where the balance comes in.
Yeah, and you said it beautifully when you were saying crafting your lifestyle is a craft itself.
Yes.
And I was like, damn, you did say that. I told you, man. I got you. I got you. But this idea of treating your lifestyle, your day-to-day, your schedule, like that is a craft in itself.
Yes.
Like the way you mastered, or you're mastering, I should say, because we never really mastered it yet. To say that I've mastered life is kind of like check mark, done. Right.
Yeah.
We're in the middle. It's always a constant process of mastering. But as you are mastering your lifestyle, your schedule, just like you said, if you're doing A by default, you can't do B and C. Mm-hmm. But if you're over here trying to do A, B, and C, how well are you really mastering any one of them?
Right. I feel like sometimes it is a road to self-sabotage, because there is, and I'm talking about like just being so laser focused on your career. It could be a little bit of a self-sabotage, because you do sacrifice a lot of parts within you, your mental health, your home health. Sometimes you'll notice you're not really taking care of what's going on at home because you just want to work. That's so imbalanced, in my opinion. And I feel like I don't know. I think it was so common. It's common because it's almost glorified in an entrepreneurial artist. Anyone that like wants to, it's so glorified to just not sleep and work all the time and live an unbalanced life. And I'd like to try to demystify that. I want to, I think it's important to take care of everything else. It's when you're so laser focused on something, and then you have a small bit of error. For example, an artist, they'll be like, oh man, I didn't like what I did today. In a sense, that's part of your identity. You become your mistake, because that's all you live for. You are that mistake, and you identify with that, and then you feel like you're a failure because you made a fail. So if you make a fail, you become a failure, and because you're an artist only, that's your whole day is ruined. You can't separate yourself from that. You because that's all you are. You can't go home and like just like turn off work. You can't clock out. That's all you think about. You have to, and everyone's around you trying to like, oh yeah, you want to hang out, or oh yeah, let's have date night, or oh, you want to visit the family, this and that. Like there's so much other things that you could put your mind on, but you're so immersed in that world that you don't even see everything around you, because you're just kind of dug yourself in that hole.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you know what? That hits me deep, bro, because that's how I was when I was a cop. When I was a cop, I was so dedicated to my craft, my identity of being like a badass warrior. Like I would be working, what hours we work? We were working 12.5-hour shifts, right? 3 12.5-hour shifts. So yeah, people were like, oh, that's awesome. 3 days. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get into that. But when I was at work, I was obviously focused at work. When I was off work, I was still focused at work, like even my days off, the things I spent my time on were so that I can be a better police officer, was so that I can make the SWAT team, was so that I can be a better shooter, a better, I was more fit. It was always around this identity of becoming a warrior. And here's the thing I realized, man gave me that title. And when man took it away, I was fucked. because my whole life was built around this title. I sacrificed. I moved from Chicago to California. I left, my fiance, and we did this whole long distance thing for a while. And I left my family, and I pursued this. Now, on the flip side, I am so grateful that I did, because it's taught me what sacrifice meant. And I'm not going to go too much into detail about this. I'm sure at another podcast we'll talk about it, but I was so dedicated to my craft that my marriage almost failed, because that's one of the things I was willing to sacrifice. Maybe like I didn't say it out loud, but my actions and everything else, yeah, I don't care about that. I'm focused on my career.
Mm.
And then the minute that title was gone, it was like, whoa, who am I?
Right.
So I love how you get this at such a young age, and you're already applying it to your life.
Yeah.
And dude, that's awesome.
Thank you. Sorry. Siri came up.
You're good. She's like, and one more thing.
I'm so curious to what's like triggering for her to just pop up. We must be hitting a lot of good points over here.
Yeah, not today, Satan or Siri, whoever.
Yeah, I think a lot of hard lessons are learned through difficult experiences like that. So, we're only able to talk about this because we went through it. I think it's a lot different than someone that hasn't been through it at all and be like, oh, like that's really the
sounds
case.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen to this. Before I remember, I forgot how many years ago this was, but you texted me or something. You wanted to check up on me. I think this is when you started your podcast or something, or I forgot, but this is before the last time we spoke, before we saw each other at Walmart. Mm-hmm. And we had a very brief conversation on Facebook, and you're like, oh, how you been, man? And I'm like, oh, I'm busy. I'm always working. Something like that. You remember that? I forgot what I said, but I said, oh man, I got a lot going on. I'm just always busy. I got the, and then I think you responded in a way where you're like, hey, I just want to let you know that it's not always about being busy all the time. And I think at that point in my life, that was when I was so laser focused. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I gotta do all this, you know what I'm saying? So, it takes an amount of experiencing it rather than hearing it from someone else, because now I understand, oh, that's what he was talking about. That's what he was talking about. Like I was, but I'm also proud of going through that, because I think, when you do go through that, you do develop a skill where, I think I said this in the last podcast, but like with the Pablo Picasso, when he drew, I don't know if it's him or someone else, but he drew a portrait of someone doing street art. He did a portrait and he did it maybe in like 10, 15, 30 minutes. And then he said the price. And then the person that like took the commission, he was like, hey, you only drew it for this much time for 30 minutes. Why are you charging me this much? And then he would respond, I'm not charging you for the 30 minutes that I drew it. I'm charging you for the lifetime that it took me to be able to draw that in 30 minutes. So there, there is some stuff that we can take from our struggle, from, working so hard, because I feel like I made my job currently a lot easier, because I feel like I could draw stuff very fast now. But with that, I also, at that point in my life, I was so laser focused that I did, neglect maybe other skills in my life, but it was to that did carry over to where I am currently.
Oh, I love that. That quote or that story right there. I love that too, man. One of the things I want to respect your time, because we're running short on time here. Okay. But I love where we're at with this podcast. Let me ask you, how different did it feel to operate when you were like head down, grind mentality, versus now where you're actually working less hours, but just like you said a few minutes ago, your art and your drawings has just been better.
Yeah.
Compare and contrast like the feelings of that, and really, what do you think that the difference maker was?
Well, oh man, it's hard to speak for myself at that time because I'm not going through emotions now. But at the time, well, currently, I feel like my life is so balanced now because I could work less hours because I could do a drawing a lot faster than I did back then when I was head on the, my nose to the grindstone. In a sense that I was investing my skill then for my life to be easier now. And that's not something I think it's something that I only realize now,
Yeah.
But yeah, I could draw like a full sleeve like in a day now. But at the time, I think I'd have to look at a few books, look at this and that, do my research, this and that. So
I feel like, it gave you the ability to collapse time. I think
yes.
that's what great people do, is people who have achieved greatness, right? People learn how to take 24 hours and make it seem like they've accomplished 48 hours worth of work.
Mhm.
And it's that ability to control your focus. And it's true. You do have to. There's times where you have to put your head down and grind and lay down bricks, but you'll never be able to fully appreciate looking up and turning around and seeing all the bricks you've laid if you haven't really started from day one and put your head down and commit to something. I think a lot of people will kind of put their head down, lay a few bricks here, put their head up, like, whatever. I quit. I'll stop. Then put their head down again, a few bricks here. And it's just like this endless not getting anywhere, spinning your wheels. And it's like, oh, this whole entrepreneur thing isn't for me. But it's the great ones that understand, like, when I chase my passion out and I pursue my passion and my calling to give whatever service or product to the world and be the best damn person I can be, you just show up differently. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think everything in life happens, when you struggle, when you, maybe just focus on your career, when you, even where we're at currently, I think it all falls into place. I think everything really happens the way it should,
Yeah, it does, man. And you won't really be able to say you understand that until you're going through it or you've gone through it.
Yeah.
Because this is stuff that when you read it in a book and it makes you feel all nice and stuff, but realistically, without any real experience behind it, it's just nice words.
Yeah.
Empty. It's just empty.
Absolutely. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's humbling. But bro, man, I loved this conversation, man. This was actually I think this was better than our last few ones, just because we were able to go in there and just share straight from the heart, and it went a lot smoother. And I love that, man. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing. I know, like, a little bit of your story. How can people get a hold of you? How can they follow you and what you're doing?
Well, my tattoo account is right over here, Rhyno_108. And then, you could also reach my personal Instagram, Rhyno Tabamo. That's RINEL TABAMO. And my email is rhynotattoo@gmail.com. RHYNOTATTOO@gmail.com.
Awesome. And if there's a lasting thought, if there's the person listening right now who's still kind of in that fork in the road, or they're getting close to that fork in the road where they may have to make that decision of follow my passions or follow what everyone else is telling me, what would be that one thing you would tell that person right now?
Be intuitive. If that's how you feel like your life should go, then you should follow that, but also be educated in the direction that you're going. Find your mentors, read your books, do your research. You can't just dive in and not understand. You that contradicts my whole, like, ignorant kind of thing, But you just got to be prepared for the moment and just have just be intuitive, just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You just gotta pick a side and go with it.
you got to
Pick
go
a
with
side
it.
and go that explore it and
Yeah.
like be prepared to, in the book Think and Grow Rich, they talk about burning the ships.
Yes.
You have to be able to burn the ships in order to fully commit. Whether you go left or you go right, commit, burn the ships, and go all in.
Right. Yeah. I think books was a huge part of my career, how it got me to be where I'm at. Like, and that goes again with finding mentors and reading books. You have to,
Mm-hmm.
you're not the only one that really been on that path. Nothing's new under the sun. You didn't make up all
Right.
these advice. So many, they see that books are almost autobiographical, and you get advice from each book that you read. You get advice from your mentors. So absorb as much as that, and then move into your career. And that's where you just have to be intuitive. You just got to be obsessed with what you love.
I love that. I love that. Rhyno, thank you, brother. Thank you for being on the show, and I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Hey, likewise. Thanks for having me, Angela.
All right, brother. Thank you, man. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope that you enjoyed the show. Make sure you follow me at angeloliloc.com. That's ANGELOLILOC. You'll receive our weekly newsletters, any updates, any events, giveaways, all that kind of stuff every week straight to your inbox. All right, we want to make sure that it's easy and convenient for you. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.